realized while editing this episode that we didn't give much context as to why episode 3 is our first episode out. Unfortunately, episodes 1 and 2 got a bit corrupted during importing, exporting, and editing and all of that. So, unfortunately, episode 3 has to be our first episode. We apologize for that inconvenience, but we hope that you stick with us through, our growing pains as we learn more and more about this crazy world of podcasting. So, without further ado, here's episode 4.
Welcome to the third. Wait,
No,
is it
this is
fourth?
episode 4.
Dude, is it
we've
four
been
already?
keeping up with it for a bit. It's been a month.
Yeah, this is the fourth installment of gamingti, our weekly podcast where we discuss games, tech, just stuff that interests us, stuff that gets
Yeah.
us riled up, and stuff like that.
Maybe a little bit of business as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I am Tristan, and the
I'm
other guy
Imani.
speaking is he's Imani. He's the I to the and I'm the T. If you guys didn't get
Yeah,
that.
like we actually planned it out. It wasn't just a random, like we didn't just copy NVIDIA or anything.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
at all.
yeah. To to be fair, maybe Nvidia copied us. This was
Yeah, of course.
exactly.
I mean, think about a big tech company. They might have came from the future. They were like, "Oh, gaming TI, they're big in the future. We should name our graphics card after them."
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
but anyway, we do have some interesting topics for you today. But before we do that, you want to give us some news on maybe some sales and stuff that's going on right now?
Yeah, we got some PC game sales. Let's start with we could start with the free games on the Epic Game Store. Epic Game Store has been giving away 2 free games for the past, I don't know, it's been a while now.
It's been a while. I've been making sure to, even though like most of the games they might not be anything special, but I've been making sure to copy them. They're free. Just add them to your
Yeah,
library. You don't have to download them. They just sit there.
it's free. Why not get it? And this week's free games are Company of Heroes and Crusader Kings 2. Sword of Islam expansion. I have no idea what those games are. Probably gonna get them though.
Of
They're free.
course.
Alright, just looking at the list there, there's some interesting titles. There's Hitman 2, Watch Dogs 2 for $15 on Steam.
Ooh, Watch Dogs. So I might have to cop that.
Yeah, there's the Bioshock collection. You know, interesting games. Bioshocks 1, 2, 3. Uh,
You ever played Bioshock, by the way?
I
Just
started playing the first Bioshock. I
Yeah, I
didn't.
think I started playing, but I started playing when I was like young. Couldn't really stick with it. It was kind of creepy for me.
I actually started playing the first one through a friend's recommendation like a few years ago,
Oh
and it
yeah.
was like it was interesting. It's just that I think I can't remember why exactly I stopped playing, but it was interesting.
Yeah. Well, we got the collection for what, 10.99?
It's 1380 on Game Billet. I should probably figure out how that's
I
pronounced.
think it's we're gonna say billet, but billet. I don't know,
Billet.
but cool. What else we got?
We got a Street Fighter 5 for 7.99. That's a big game for
That
7.99.
is, yeah.
Doom for 6.59. Doom 3 Classics 6.59 as well on Steam. We got the original Watch Dogs. Not so much of a classic, but it's only 5.99 on Steam. Uh,
That was technically the first PC game I bought. I bought it on my laptop that should not, in all honesty, have been able to run it. But after Ubisoft updated they updated something. It was just able to run better. So I'll call that my first PC game. So it's a classic for me.
so, okay, that's an interesting classic you got there.
Yeah.
Uh, we got a Postal 2. The Postal games are crazy. The second one I think is like I've never played Postal, but I've heard good things about it.
Dope.
99 cents on Steam.
There
Uh,
you go. You can't get a better price than that, other than I guess 1 cent or 98 cents. I mean, but 99 cents less than a dollar, solid.
yep. Uh, on the good old game side, there's not a lot going on, I would say. Well, that's just my opinion. Yeah, there is XCOM, Terror from the Deep for 149. Uh, there's Quest for Glory 1 through 5. I think I'm mixing that up with a different game. I don't know what that game is. If you know what that game is, it's you get 5 games for 649. Uh,
Uh, I don't think I know it either.
yeah. Motor Racer. Yeah, not good old games. They usually have
Not too
some.
much going on this week.
They usually have some good old games, but this maybe like that's not fair. Maybe they're good old games for someone, just not for that's not for
Yeah,
me.
maybe not for us. I mean, plus it might be they're ramping up for Black Friday coming up. What, next week?
True.
Black Friday is next week.
Yep.
So yeah. Well, those are some of the games you can get. You could check the links down below wherever you're viewing this at or listening to this at for the link to all of these games. And let's jump into some of the core topics right now. I think first thing on the plate, I'm gonna go straight into it. We are in what the third week of November now, or it's the third week, right? And Stadia dropped yesterday. Uh, I received it in the mail yesterday. Tried it out for a little bit. I only have a couple hours on it, and first impression out the gate, solid, which is not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
I was expecting doo doo.
It's interesting that you say that because you're basically contrariing like almost every review that I've seen of the game, which is
Yeah,
interesting.
but I think I know why though. So first of all, to give you guys a bit of backstory for those of you who might not know what Stadia is what a lot of people, maybe not a lot actually, but what Google thinks the future of gaming is. It is, what would you call it? A gaming
It's basic.
service.
It's basically cloud streaming. Google will claim they invented it, but Nvidia's been doing it for a few
Nvidia did it
years
with the
now.
Shield.
Yeah,
Yep.
they did it with the Shield. Plus, they had Nvidia Cloud something they called it. I know you used to call it Grid before, but they've
Yeah.
been doing it for like a few years, maybe 2, 3 years, maybe.
Well,
And
I mean, I think out of everybody, although Google might not have invented it, I definitely think if there's anybody who can do it properly, it's Google.
it should
If
be
there's,
Google.
it should be Google.
Yeah, but
I mean, Google has the infrastructure, they have the servers, they have the placement of servers around the world to get best latency. Depending on where you're located. Their own gigabit connection, fiber connection, and all of that stuff. So I mean, I think if any company can pull it off, it's Google. But like you said, I might just be an outlier because what I was
yeah,
playing was apparently completely different from what everybody else played.
yeah, the reviews have not been good. People have been complaining about variable input latency. So basically, sometimes the latency is good, and sometimes you get like a second. You'll press the space bar to jump, and a second later you'll jump. So
Okay, the two games that come with Stadia, I had the Founders Edition, so I am a Stadia Pro user for the next 3 months until February. I'll also be getting a buddy code, so I'll share this. Maybe you want to try it. I could share it with a friend, whoever. We'll see. But the two games that came with it, Destiny 2, that just went free to play, so kind of makes sense. And also Samurai Showdown. It's kind of like Street Fighter esque, but samurais. Um, Now I will admit I have not played Samurai Showdown yet, but that's because I wanted to jump straight into Destiny 2 just to try it because Destiny 2 is online. I already know because Sony did this back in the day where you can basically stream a game from your PS4 to your phone wherever you are as long as you're connected to fast enough internet. And I tried that and it wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't that bad either. Plus I had pretty bad internet at the time. So it was actually pretty decent. So I was actually fairly confident that a single player game would play absolutely fine. So I was like, let's jump into an online game where you're actually playing with other players. You know, it's connected to a server where other players are there. And I I had I played on both the Chromecast Ultra that they send with it, um, with the Stadia controller. That one was good, but it was a little bit weird. I mean, it's been a while since I've played a shooter game with a controller. So my aim was kind of off, and I really couldn't tell if it was just me not being able to play, or if it was an actual issue with server, uh, just latency issues. And the reason why I say that is because it only really happened when I was aiming down sight. So I don't know, but then I jumped onto the PC, um, just went to Stadia.com and just hit play. And I used my mouse and keyboard, the peripherals that, my computer is hooked up to. Luckily, you can use either the controller or the peripherals that are already hooked up. And it was butter. It was smooth, I will say. Like, I had zero latency issues whatsoever. I was actually surprised. I was pleasantly surprised.
All right. Well, I was actually surprised when you told me that you wouldn't get any latency issues because just like in the past, the I would say the company that did this best was Nvidia, and Nvidia with their let me see if I could just find the exact name to remember it. But their service, they would like if Google were going to be successful with this, they would be the guys. They would have to match or beat Nvidia's performance
Right.
because their latency was it was not good, but it was playable for like single player games.
Yeah, yeah.
But in addition to latency, something that for me as a PC gamer, what
Hmm.
I take issue with is 60 FPS on a PC.
So you see, I guess that's where we kind of separate because, and this is mainly because I just got onto the PC scene. It's been about 2 months now that since I built my PC, and while 120, 144 frames, I have two 144 hertz monitors, so I get those higher frame rates and all of that. But I've been used to 60 or less on both my PS4 and my Xbox. We're not even going to talk about the Switch. So maybe it's just a case of like that didn't bother me. It maybe my eyes. Maybe I just wasted money on my on my
Oh no,
144 hertz monitors.
he couldn't be saved. He's a console pleb. He could not be saved. Your eyes can only see 30 FPS.
Yo, I mean, I'm actually, so disclaimer. I have to put this out there. I My internet speed is what I would say nothing short of ridiculous.
Yes, it's insane.
Yeah, if there was, like, how you have the 1%, of the 1%, so you have like that 0.1%, of like rich people in the world. Um, I'm not one of those, but my internet is definitely one of the 0.1% of I think fastest internets in the world because uh, my download speeds when I was testing yesterday was about close to 700 megabytes per second. Upload speeds hovering around 5 to 600. So definitely, if there was a best case scenario, that would be it.
Yeah, and I think for most people, I think the worldwide average is still somewhere around 30 or 20 or something like that worldwide.
I think it's around 30-20. Yeah,
Yeah, for most people, I'd be interested to see how it runs under those conditions. But
yeah.
from what I was seeing earlier from early reports, they were reporting that regardless of what internet they're connected to, whether it's good internet or bad internet, the latency was still there.
Wow, that's actually surprising me. I really thought that maybe might have just been an internet issue, but because I could honestly say, and don't get me wrong, I like Google, but I'm not like over vouching for them. I actually did send you that little clip of me hitting the space bar and showing what's coming up on screen, and it didn't look like there was any latency at all.
Yeah. But
So I don't know. It's I the thing is I do think let's talk about the future for a bit. I do think that this will be part of the future. I'm not saying that it's going to be the main, future, but I do think like the main go-to service or it's going to replace gaming PCs, not at all. But I do think it's definitely going to become an option for people who don't want to spend too much money on a console, but at the same time want an access to a few games. One thing we do have to also mention is Stadia's launch lineup was pretty weak. They I think launched with 22 games, and the
uh,
only reason they launched with 22 games was because Xbox announced their cloud gaming service coming out next year,
and they're gonna
and
launch with 50 games.
yeah, and Google was like, "Oh boy." They had a dozen games originally planned, and then Google was like,
I think
"Ah,
10.
okay."
I think 10 games they had
It was
originally
10,
planned that they
and then they
announced
scram
on.
I thought it was a dozen, and then they scrambled together 10.
Yeah, okay, it may have been a dozen and they scrambled together 10, but like releasing uh,
Yeah.
that's like even 2022 games. That's not enough.
Nah,
That's
it's
nowhere
definitely not
near
much.
enough.
Not for how much it was hyped up.
None. The thing is, if ga- gamers play a variety of games,
Yep.
like there's so much different styles and like opinions in gaming that
Mm-hmm.
for 22 games, maybe one game someone would enjoy, like maybe one game. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's not enough.
I mean, uh, it's. I want to see what the rate of new games that they're going to be putting on the store is. Is it going to be, what, one a month? Is it going to be five a month? I don't know what their plans are long term for this kind of thing. But I mean, only time will tell. I definitely think that it's something that they're going to stick with. Oh, and one point I wanted to make earlier as well is the reality of the world is internet speeds might be this right now, but it's only going to keep getting better because the whole thing is tech companies or this is going to sound pretty messed up. Tech companies want more insight into our lives, unfortunately. And I still remember a few years ago, Mark Zuckerberg was very big on this plan to bring internet to third world countries and so on. I know Google had a project where they were going to use something that's like weather balloons to essentially have like this worldwide like Wi-Fi network. Really crazy things just so they can bring the internet to everybody, and that will have some sort of benefit. And I do think as time goes on and technology improves, people are just going to get better and better internet. So that's why I do think in part that this is a part of the future. Again, I don't think it's the only future, but I think it is a part of it.
I am going to have to disagree
Oh, okay.
because, okay, now I think this is going to fall in line with Google products like Ara and like
Google
Google
Glass.
Google Glass and Google Plus. I think this is where this is going to end up.
Oh, really?
I and the reason I think so is because you still have to buy the games. This
I
isn't
will admit that is a big thing. Yeah.
maybe if they change that, it would change my opinion a bit. But you look at project what are Xbox calling that thing is xCloud or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
You have Xbox Game Pass.
Yep.
That's gonna you could get that for like as low as $1 for the first month.
Yep.
So you're gonna have in addition to the games, like they're gonna have to expand their library and whatever. But that's something potentially that they can add additional games to. You're gonna have a variety of games that you're gonna be able to play for as low as $1 for your first month, or and
Oh,
then continuing after that like $15 a month.
so okay, yeah. So like I had a Game Pass. Again, same thing, dollar for a month, and I think they also had like a special where it was like $5 for 3 months or something. Um, but so what you're saying is Stadia specifically is not going to be necessarily a part of the future, but cloud gaming in some sense is, because that's what I meant. I think I'm
I
not saying that Stadia is going to be it, like the cloud gaming thing. I think something is going to be it. I think it's going to be in the future. I'm not saying it's necessarily Stadia.
Okay, okay, I get that, but I still think cloud gaming is not the future of gaming. I
No,
think,
I don't think it's the premier. I don't think it's the
yeah,
premier future. I think it's going to be an option,
I think it will
but
replace
I
console games. Like, I think it will definitely replace consoles.
you know what I think? I think it's going to be interesting. I don't know how it might be a case of I don't know, man. That's a tough one to replace console games, huh?
Yeah, because I don't see it replacing PC.
PC. I
Not like
agree. I don't see it replacing
not in
PC.
not
PCs
in the next
are
like 10, maybe 15 years, unless there's some giant leap in technology, unless there's like some insane invention that changes the way the internet works.
right.
I
Something
don't.
that changes internet speeds substantially.
Yeah, because like okay, like you saying that the 60 FPS doesn't bother you, but from where I'm sitting with, I can't play a game that plays at 60 FPS anymore. Like I need
Oh wow.
minimum 90. Like if I'm not getting 90, it's it looks bad. It's almost unplayable to me.
Wow, we you see this is the PC master race speaking here, people.
It
um
and,
okay.
and then I think 4K, and then there's the 4K. Like their target, for me, this was the huge mistake on Google, and it's a huge mistake on a lot of companies, that their target is 4K 60. 4K 60. Like
Or you thinking it should be
why
more like
4K?
1080p 120?
Exactly, like or even 1440p.
Yeah, I mean I agree because I don't even have 4K monitors. My monitors are 1440.
Like who games at 4K?
My one of my friends does.
Yeah, but it's not a gaming at 4K is a bad experience. It doesn't matter what hardware you have. You could have 2080 Ti SLI. Gaming at 4K is a bad experience because you're not gonna get high refresh rate. You're not gonna
Right.
get high FPS because I'm guessing if you're the kind of person that wants to game at 4K, you want to have ultra settings as well.
Right.
And there's nothing that can do that for you. Not now, maybe next gen, maybe.
I mean, I do think that it's going to come to a point where GPUs just get so good that 4K is just, the way we run 1080 now is the way GPUs 10 years from now maybe are going to be running 4K. Um,
Yeah, but just
but
because GPUs can run 4K doesn't mean that 4K is that good, because there's some weird scaling issues with 4K.
but again, I think like in 10 years, I think most of that is going to probably be worked out. Like because it's a case of there's always going to be a new standard, right? Um,
And I think it's
I still remember
1440p.
the days. You think 1440p is going to be the
That
same? You think
that
it's going
is
to be the same standard 10 years from now?
1440, like you game at 1414p. It's
Yes.
um is great.
It's pretty good. I like it.
Yeah, it's the sweet spot. Like we don't need higher resolution. Like I know that's been a thing that's been said before, but I, like we really don't need higher resolution.
I agree. Like, it's not necessary, but then again,
It's
you
we're at the
like.
point where it's diminishing. Like okay, like the difference between, and that's the next thing, the difference between 1440p and 4K is not that much. Like the difference between 1080p and 1440p is definitely noticeable, but between
Yeah.
1440p and 4K, it's not that noticeable. The only thing that you're gonna notice is that you have less frames, significantly less frames.
Right, right.
So what's the point? 1440p is a sweet spot, but it's not a buzzword, right? That's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. 1440 doesn't. But I mean, isn't 2K technically 1440, right? Like they
Yeah,
call 1440 2K.
yeah, but 2K is not a buzzword like 2K. If you're into smartphone technology, if you're a tech person, you recognize what 2K is.
Yeah, of course.
But for most people, they know 4K. 4K is like
Right.
this. The 4K sticker is on everything. It's on TVs everywhere. You know, everyone just stamps that 4K sticker on everyone, and that's
Yep,
why
yep.
I think that's why Stadia put 4K 60. But
And now one thing I do have to state about Stadia is as of currently um 4K is it's not even real 4K. It's 1080 upscaled, which looks horrible. Um so yeah, take that as what you will. I mean, we'll definitely see how things play out, but I do agree with you. 4K is a buzzword, so it's definitely cool to like slap that on there. the The statistics I really want to know is even if they do roll out full 4K, not upscaled, but just full 4K. How many people nowadays have 4K TVs and monitors?
I think a lot of people have 4K TVs just because 4K TVs have been out for a while now, and I think a lot of they're pretty affordable. Like you could pick up a 4K TV for about $300, right?
Right.
But 4K monitors, because this is for gamers.
Yeah.
A lot of gamers are like not even buying TVs anymore.
No, not at all.
A 4K monitor, on the other hand, is like $1,000.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing with 4K monitors is, and that's because of the refresh rate, right? Um, a lot of that has to do with the refresh rate and just the
Uh,
different like
well, there
what
there
else?
there are not a lot of 4K high refresh rate monitors. I think there's like two.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying. Like, whereas TVs, you can have a 4K, 60 hertz TV, so that way the fastest refresh rate the fastest FPS you'll get on that is 60. But once you start pumping up to 144, you know, um, and above, then that's what really starts to you're kind of really pushing the envelope there. So that's why I think monitors specifically, because that's really the only advantage to
I think it's
that's where monitors have an advantage, right?
I think it's less of the refresh rate and more of the response time because
Ah,
yeah, because to get a because you don't response time on a TV doesn't matter. It could be 100 milliseconds. No one cares. It's,
yeah,
but if response time on a monitor, you need like to game on it, it needs to be below 5 milliseconds, and
yeah,
getting all those pixels to respond that quickly, kind of tough.
very, yeah. So I mean, Because I remember when I was looking for my monitors, and I ended up landing on a couple of Samsung monitors. Um, I I was looking. It was I had a few boxes to check. I already had curved monitors before, so I was like, all right, I want curved monitors again. So that's one box. Next thing is 1440, and then after that was 144 hertz refresh rate, and then I was looking for sub 5 milliseconds response times. And those four things all together was it was actually pretty hard to find one that I was willing to because I wanted two, so it needs to be in the right price range. Um, and that's pretty hard to find. And I got pretty lucky, and I still had to return them and pay like an extra like $20 each to get the ones I really wanted.
Yeah. So
So
4K 60 sounds good. It's a bad idea. And the reason why I don't think Stadia is going to be, or cloud gaming is going to contest PC gaming is there's a small thing that a lot of people are like brushing over, is that you cannot change your settings, which is like PC gamers
that's a
care
big
about.
deal.
That's like it's for console gamers. I don't think a console. And that's why I think it'll be good on console because I don't think console gamers care. They don't have the option to anyway,
Right.
right? So it's no different. But however the game looks, and in addition to that, you don't have the customization that a PC would give you. Like you look at a game like Skyrim. Skyrim has been out since 2012, I think, or something
It's been
like that.
out a
Something
while.
something stupid like that, or like okay, maybe not 2012, maybe like 2015 or something. And you could have mods on that game that makes it look like it came out yesterday.
No, you were right. Skyrim came out like 2011.
Holy shit!
Yeah, yeah. Skyrim's been out because I was like, it's definitely way before 2015.
Yeah, and you could you could have mods on that game, make it look like it came out this year.
Right.
And that's the thing that cloud gaming does not give you, and that's a big part of PC gaming. Just having that freedom, that customization.
I do agree. I think hmm. The thing is don't I personally think that sort of approach is going to start to be locked down by developers in general. Um and the reason why actually I don't know. I let me not comment on that too much because I have not been in the PC gaming world too much. But the reason why I initially said that, and um, this is a bit of a sidetrack, um, is because this kind of leads into one of the other topics I want to talk about quite well actually. My Oculus Quest. I've had it for like 4 months now, something like that. And the main reason I got it was because of a game called Beat Saber. It's a rhythm game. You have two lightsabers. You're hitting blocks in the direction that of the arrows on the blocks. And the main reason why I even wanted to get Beat Saber is, other than me being a huge fan of rhythm games in general, um, is because they were the modding community, right? They were very much capable of a new song gets dropped, uh, Beat Saber, they have their very limited amount of copyright free song, but a new Drake song or a new Ariana Grande song or like a EDM song, comes out. The modders are on it. Boom, it's on this. It's on like on the site for modding. You download it, install it, and you're running a custom song that somebody mapped. And it was great. Like I had over 200 songs. I was playing all of them, and I loved it. And then Beat Saber cracked down on it, and but the reason why I think it's a little bit different is just because licensed music is a funny topic, especially nowadays. So not paying those royalties to the artists for using the music in the game and so on is a bit of a problem. And I don't know if I could then apply what I was saying, where I don't know if modding will still be big because once it's not infringing on somebody else's IP, like their intellectual property, I guess it's not a problem.
Yeah.
But I do feel like in general, doesn't it seem like people are getting a lot more strict about, you know, what can be done to games and so on after release?
Yeah, okay, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Like, especially game developers, like they don't want you, like especially if you're gonna be streaming the game, I
Right.
guess. But I haven't seen like, but a lot of the times the mods will just be like, all right, this mod makes everything look more vibrant, or there'll be like a like for games that don't support 4K, there'll be like a 4K mod or something
Right.
stupid like that, where they do upscaling or some shit. But yeah,
Didn't they? I think they did that with Grand Theft Auto before Grand Theft Auto even officially released.
yeah,
um,
yeah, basically.
right.
The modding community, I think the modding community has been getting smaller. Just I don't think it's due to copyright infringement or anything. I just like a lot of games don't need to be modded.
They're good enough as is. But I also think it's a case of how many games like Skyrim do you still get? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of games are nowadays, especially since we have this whole battle royale hype that we're going through currently. There are games that are played on the company's servers. Um, so there's really not much, if any, room to do modding.
Yeah, but a lot of gamers don't prefer to play. A lot of gamers prefer to play single player games, and I think that recently you've been keen, they've been more vocal, and the companies have been responding to them a bit more because you get games like the new Star Wars game that
Yep,
is
yep.
a single player game, or you don't need to go online. You get games like Death Stranding where again it's a single player game. There are some online aspects, but you don't need to play online. You could just enjoy the game. You could sit on your couch or on it at your desk and just enjoy the single player experience. And those games are always going to, well, not Death Stranding because it's
It's
a
a PS4
console,
exclusive.
yeah. But those games that those single player games that have high replayability, is that a word?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, those games, you're always gonna have some modern community for them. Because like maybe like 2, 3 years down the road you wanna play it again, but it doesn't look as good. Someone releases some mod, you get updated. I don't think that's ever going to be the case with stream games unless they do a remaster or something like that. Which
Gotcha.
yeah, that could take like who knows how long that takes.
That's a very good point because I mean, honestly, I've been waiting for a master for one of the Need for Speed games for a
Yeah,
lot of the Need for Speed games for a long time,
yeah.
and it's not happening. I mean,
Nah.
we spoke about that last week though, so we're not going to
Yo.
jump into that right now. Um,
One more thing about Stadia and streaming on the whole, that something that was announced earlier this week that might influence VR a bit is the new Half-Life game, which is only available for VR, right? So
oh wait, I didn't hear about this.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's not. It was
I mean,
announced. The
is this when Valve said they will announce a new Half
Yeah,
Life
they will.
game at
That's
the
all.
Game Awards?
That's all they said. They said they will announce the game, and everyone went nuts and is
I mean,
hyped
they've
up to
been
play
waiting
this.
for a new Half Life for forever.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people are upset that it's going to be on VR. But if VR is going to be a thing, it needs to have exclusives at the start,
It needs
right?
to have big titles. Yep, it needs to have mascots basically.
Yeah. To get people into VR, to get the price of the entry fee to VR for VR to be a bit lower, so more people could have it. And Uh, I don't think like you look at the Oculus Link that just came out.
Yep.
when when would you need 180 something FPS at 1440p per eye or something like that? Something
Uh,
ridiculous to have a good
yeah,
VR.
something pretty ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see Stadia offering VR, and VR could potentially be a big deal in the future. If I didn't think so before, but with the Half-Life game, maybe more games like this come out. Could be a
So
thing.
so the thing is, I've always been an advocate for VR since early days. And I will admit what kind of threw my head more into VR was anime, Sword Art Online. And I ever since that came out, that really kind of opened up my eyes to what the possibilities of VR. Now, of course, that anime takes it a bit further, where it's like you're physically in another world and you have your full sense of touch, taste, everything. But I definitely think VR will be, again, a big part of the future. I don't know. I really don't know how big it will be for gaming, and that's because I think that there's quite a few limitations as of, as of current, um, that just doesn't make it too appealing to the average person. And those things are the high price point, the in I guess this falls under the high price point, but the amount of things that you have to have for it to run. If you want to get into VR, the only thing that's really opened it up for the average person is the Oculus Quest, which comes in at $400. That's basically the price of a console. Yeah, it's still a bit pricey, but comparatively speaking to about like the HTC Vive, that starts at $1,000. The Vive Pro is like $1,500 just for the HMD, the head mounted display, um, with I think another $500 for the peripherals that you need, like the base stations, and then there's also a wireless attachment that you can get, and that is on top of you already shelling out money for a PC that can technically run it. So obviously for the people who already have those PCs, that's fine. But for somebody who wants to take a first step into VR, you're telling me, I mean, I kind of did it. You have to build almost a $2,500 machine if you want to get the best VR experience.
You wanted to build a $2,500
I
machine.
mean, again, but I'm saying,
You
like,
can
if you
get
want to get the
VR with a
best,
1060.
you could. But if you
And
want the
it's
best VR
yeah,
experience,
they don't stamp VR certified on anything. They, you it could give you a good VR experience without you getting upset. Don't 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 mislead the people. You
uh,
wanted a $2,500 computer.
I mean, but I'm just saying, like, okay, let's talk about minimums then, right? Minimum specs, you could probably build a PC for what, $1,000?
Maybe like 800.
All right, we'll put 800, and then on top of that, if you want to get into VR, um, PC VR. Actually, no, I forgot. I'm actually missing the Oculus Rift S, the new Rift that came out alongside the Oculus Quest. That also starts at $400, which puts in a very competitive place. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess you can get into VR for maybe about 1,200, $1,500 total, but that's still a huge,
Yeah, it's not cheap.
yeah, it's not cheap. I definitely think that price point is still, unless it comes down a lot, is still going to be a bit too much for the average person.
Yeah,
But
but that's the thing, right? But that's the thing. You look at the new Oculus, right? The Rift S. Like you
right,
said, that's like 400. The Oculus when it just came out was $1,000.
yeah.
Uh, so that's 60% off. Less.
But do you know why the only reason why Oculus was able to get these prices down as low as they are currently is because Facebook bought them. Facebook is literally making they chop their profit margins on this thing down immensely to be able to get it down to this price point.
Right, but that's like how things work. Like a console is not worth five. A console is more expensive than 500, like $400. It is, right?
Right.
Because if you build a comparable PC for $400, it's not going to be as good as the same specs.
Yeah, of course.
So like these companies, like when they okay, like the prices are going to go down as long as
There's
dem
demand.
there's demand. Like the prices are going to go down after, like, let's say everyone buys a bunch of people buys a VR headset, and next year, by the year 2021, you might be able to get a VR headset for like $200.
True. But I think that's the big problem. A lot of companies, I don't I have to look into this, but I don't know if there's a big profitability that's happening in VR right now.
Not yet.
I
That's right now. Not yet. So if they get
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like that alone, and I don't really see there being incentive for companies to start entering the space more aggressively just because again, I don't think anybody's proven in any large sense that VR is the future where you're going to have every household is going to have a VR headset.
right,
And I think that that's the problem. There's not going to be enough incentive for companies to get into the VR market for those prices to get as low as they need to go.
I think that's what Valve is trying to do with the new Half-Life. Like they're releasing a game that they know people would want to play. They're they're going to get some new people buying VR headset for the first time just to play that game.
And
And
by the way, they're definitely going to be releasing this for their headset, the Valve Index.
yeah,
So
and I think that's one of the more expensive ones.
that is one of the more expensive ones. But I will admit, I do think it's somewhat worth it. I think, honestly, the controllers that Valve came up with are absolutely amazing. The way they work is essentially you kind of strap them to your hand. So that way, if you're not gripping the controller, they're still attached to your palms, essentially. And what that allows you to do is actually uh, give you the sensation of if you're actually grabbing an object. So in VR, if you're reaching for an object, you will reach with your hand open, and the controller will still be again attached to your hand. And then as you want to grab the object, you just grip the controller. It's actually really cool and it's very accurate as from what I've seen currently. I definitely think that those type of controllers are going to be the future of at least VR controllers, at least for the next few years.
Hmm.
So they're definitely going to add some of those features into the new Half-Life game. You know what I want to know though? I want to know if um Gabe, because it's Gabe Newell, right?
Yeah.
Uh if he's going to be if he's going to be mean and not name it Half-Life 3.
It's well, apparently it is not named Half-Life 3. It's Half-Life Alex.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
He couldn't even give them 3 letters.
Nah.
Oh man. And the original Half-Life turns 21 this year, right? Which is
That's insane.
insane.
That's
Yeah.
insane. Half-Life 2 came out, what, like 2002 or something?
Yeah. It's been people have been waiting for a long time and they've just been like, "No, not happening. We're not doing it."
Uh, and they don't. The silly thing is, they don't. There's no incentive for them to.
Oh
Like,
yeah, not at all.
like Steam doesn't need the money. Come on.
And the thing is, I honestly think that what they're doing might be kind of smart. I mean, I understand everybody wants a new Half-Life and all of that, but I think it might be smart in the sense of when there is that much want and that much hype around something, it is almost impossible to deliver. You will never be able to deliver a product that will meet everybody's expectations. It's
Well,
always going to fall a little bit short when
well,
there's this much hype.
you say that, but then there's GTA 5, which was like that was a really hyped game. That was a really really hyped game, and for a lot of people, it lived up to
I mean, but they're Rockstar though, right? I got no excuse for that.
it.
But I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's implausible. It's unlikely.
Yeah, it's
You
a
are more likely to not live up to the hype than you are to live up to it.
yeah, true. That's why I think a lot of game developers now are like, they're not really hyping up their games as much. They're not giving people a lot of time to get hyped. They'll announce a game like about a year before. Usually, like in the past, it would be like 2 years,
I
and
mean,
then
that's what happened with the new Star Wars, right? By the way, I mean, I guess we can talk about that. I have played it for about I think 10 hours now. Um, I will say I love it. It's pretty cool. Um, not hyped up at all.
yeah,
I didn't see ads for it anywhere. I didn't hear anybody
nowhere.
talking about it. All I saw is it dropped, and then I saw what happened. It dropped, and then we went to play Apex, and EA sure enough was advertising it in Apex. In Apex Legends, which was
Yeah,
crazy. It's
I mean
like, all
it's the
right,
same developers, so
yeah, it's the same developers, but still, it's like, all right,
what
I guess you guys could do that.
like maybe an ad or something.
Yeah,
But yeah, yeah, I think we covered this before with the whole Battlefront 2 debacle. Is probably why they didn't want to hype up this game as much. But
right.
apparently it's doing okay. It's not it apparently it doesn't have as much sale as Battlefront 2 does yet.
Yet,
Which I think the more reviewers come out, the more people hear about it, it will start to do well. But it's from what I've seen, it's a good game.
yeah. So from my play experience, I'll be honest up front. I think I've played one other Star Wars game, and I think that was like the Force Awakens or something. When you were playing like with the Apprentice. And I'm not really a huge Star Wars fan in the sense of the movies and so on. I know the general gist of what's going on. I don't know much about the specifics. Everybody knows who Anakin is and who Obi-Wan is. You know, I kind of fall into the general population. I'm not a Star Wars fanboy in any sense. But I will say I do like the game. It has been the graphics are great. The graphics are awesome. The story's cool. It's interesting. Again, I'm sure it's going to be a lot more interesting to people who know everything that's going on in the Star Wars universe in general. And the reason why I say uh, I know the story is a big part of it is just because there is an option for when you're choosing your combat difficulty levels. There's one that's called story gameplay or something like that, where it's combat is so easy that it's really just for you to get a grasp of the story.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people who are probably playing this just specifically for the story. I'm playing this just because I want to try it out. I mean, as a kid who hasn't ever wanted a lightsaber, um, and I'm having a good time with it. I will say the combat system. Some of the other, kind of games that are similar that I've played, where it's kind of like an open world, you could kind of explore, fight various enemies, and you have a sword based combat system. Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, and so on. Those combat systems ridiculously easy. I'd say they fall. Kingdom Hearts more so. They fall. It falls closer to button mashing combat. Not really tactical in any way. Uh, Fallen Order falls. It's difficult. If I started on the regular difficulty, I was like, okay, um, it's a lot about timing. It's definitely you can die. I've died on just normal difficulty, and then there's two levels of difficulty above that. I think it's like Jedi and then like Jedi Master or something. And I don't even want to touch Jedi Master because they give you a bar that shows you what the parry timing is for like just random attacks or just attacks that are coming at you or when they shoot the blasters. And at first I was already like struggling to get, I mean, it's not like I was struggling, but you're fighting multiple enemies while people are shooting at you. So getting that timing of blocking and all of that is pretty hard. Uh I don't even want to know what that's like on Jedi Master. I honestly don't want to know. Cuz I died like 4 times and I was just like, if I'm dying to this and this is one step above game like story mode gameplay, I don't want to know what Jedi Master is.
It's probably like probably exclusive for the sweaties
Oh
of
yeah,
bros.
absolutely. The people who have been playing for years, the ones who will literally be sitting in their room with like with lightsabers right next to them, wearing a hoodie, looking like a real Jedi. Um, but it's definitely an interesting game. Like if you were thinking about picking it up, pick it up, and if you were into Star Wars, definitely pick it up.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing. I've been hearing that the characters, not so much the main character, but like the other characters in the game, and like the story has been good.
Yeah, it's kept me interested. And again, the combat, it's hard, but I like it. It's not like there
It's
was
not
only a
Dark Souls.
couple of it's yeah no no we're not getting there at all, but it's not it's not rip my hair out difficult or like combat system, but I will admit there were a couple times when I started getting frustrated. Um, but then it was like I'm beyond frustrated and I just want to kill this person that keeps beating me. So yeah, I'll see if I can finish it, within the next couple weeks and see how it's going.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we have what the Oculus Link to talk about now.
Yeah, the link looks. Well, I guess that
So
you're more into VR than I am.
yeah, so one of the cool things about Oculus is after they released the Quest, there's been a lot of people who the modding community around the Quest is big, like really big, and a lot of people have been requesting almost as soon as it dropped, like, hey, can I just hook up a cable and hook it up to my PC and essentially just use the Quest as a hand mounted display that displays directly from my PC. And it was Oculus answered. They said yeah, and they recently released Oculus Link. It's an update that's coming shortly if it hasn't been released already, and you can basically plug your Oculus Quest into your PC and use it just like you would the Oculus Rift S. And the thing is, it's kind of I'm gonna say it's kind of cannibalizing to the Rift S. And the reason why I say that is because if I remember correctly, the Oculus Quest actually has better displays for your eyes than the Rift S. So, and they're the same price point, but the Rift S is portable. So I don't know. It's an interesting move by Oculus. It's respected by a lot of people because people asked for it and they got it. But it's to see, I want to see what the limitations are and so on. Because there was a point when, after the Quest released, when you were able to stream VR games to your Quest from your PC, Steam, using Steam. And a lot of people liked it. It was working really well for a lot of people. Um, and then it got taken down. And of course, they found a way to to put it back up, you have to download the APK because it is the Quest, by the way, does run on an Android based system. So all of the apps that you download are APKs. Um, and since it is a standalone headset, it's essentially a full, it's an Android phone mounted to your face. Like that's the best way I could describe it. Um, and it works surprisingly well for what it is. The Oculus Quest that I have is 64 gigs. I don't even think I'm halfway through. The APKs for that are surprisingly small, but everything works very well. I was thoroughly impressed. So I'm gonna try out Oculus Link. I'll report back next week, and I definitely think it's gonna be something interesting. I think it's gonna be good.
Yeah, and I'm thinking the reason why they would release it alongside the Rift S is just because they need they need people to use it. They need to keep the community happy because the VR community is not that large.
Yeah,
But if
very
they're going to
niche.
expand it and they're making VR more accessible, because a, a lot of people might look at the Rift S and think, oh, so I have to be connected to my computer at all times. It's like, okay. But then there's the Quest, which like, you could take it with you.
Yeah,
So
just don't do. I forgot, I forgot who it was, but some news post or something posted their review of it, and although when you open the box it explicitly says do not use in direct sunlight because each corner of the headset has a camera that is used to do it's called lighthouse tracking. So it's tracking from the inside out. It tracks what's around you rather than external sensors tracking your headset. um, and it explicitly said do not use outside because if you use it in direct sunlight, the cameras can actually, uh, because of the lenses, can burn your screens. It can leave a sunspot essentially on your screen. And I don't know. I don't know if they just didn't read it, but sure enough, they shot the whole review outside to show how wireless and accessible it was. Now, realistically, you can use it outside if it's a cloudy day and so on, but it's not recommended. Um, but I guess some places just didn't get the memo. But
uh,
yeah. So for you as a person who is not into VR, uh, what would it take for you to get into VR? Are you interested in VR at all?
not really. I think, like, I see that people could be how people are interested in it. I could see why. Uh, it's just okay. If there's a really good game, I might be interested, but it has to be
Right.
a really, really good game. I wasn't that into the Half-Life game, so that announcement didn't really do
Just kind
anything.
of passed over you.
Yeah, but for a lot of people, they're gonna go and get the new Half-Life game with VR.
Yeah.
So I think if there's like I don't know, actually not even a game. I think like if there's a really, really, really good simulator,
Right.
I might
Just something that gives you a really good experience with VR.
yeah, yeah. Like the new that new game, the Microsoft game, uh, airplane simulator or something like that,
Oh, right.
or pilot or something like that. I can't remember the exact name.
Yeah, I
That
know what
game
it is. What you're talking about.
that game looks amazing. Like, let me see if I can get some footage of that game. Like the graphics on that game is like, ooh,
Yeah, I remember seeing it, and it looked really clean. It looked now having that in VR. Again, I definitely do think VR is going to start to work its way
flight
into.
simulator.
It's going to start to work its way into other industries, such as industries that are training pilots, industries that are training soldiers. Um, and it's gonna be something that is definitely used as a simulation. Now, if it gets good enough, because I already know police do use it for things such as like active shooter situations and so on, just to simulate that. But um, I don't know if it's gonna get, at least in the next couple years, to the point where it's mass adopted. I think we're still a little bit away from that.
Uh, so I think if it gets there, I'll consider VR. Like
Right.
I'm just looking at the footage of this game, and like
Yeah,
imagine like
I'm looking at it right now. That looks insane.
flight simulator like this in VR. This would be, oof, this
That
would do
doesn't
it.
even look. That looks like footage
This
of
yeah,
a plane, man.
look at
That's
that.
crazy. I mean, so the cool thing about it though is I think depending on what engine they're running this on, if it becomes a case where they know the engine is that capable and the graphics are that good, it might just become mass adopted. If obviously if they're allowed to sell it, I don't know. I don't know what the specifics are, but if I think there's definitely going to have to be some kind of centralization for VR. I do think that once a proper engine is developed to kind of, get VR on a common platform where the graphics are amazing and everybody's having a similar graphical like, experience, it's definitely going to get up there. But again, I it's going to be a while until
Yeah,
somebody does that.
yeah. I think it's a good while away from that. I don't think we have, like I said before, to get good VR experience, you need like 180, 190 FPS and 1440p on both screens.
Yeah.
And there's not the hardware to do it for a game like that flight simulator.
Yeah.
Not yet.
The hardware does not exist as of yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, VR is still, as it is decent, but again, it's still a very niche community and there's not very many. I'd say I'm one of the few early adopters, and I'm not even early, I'm quite late to the party. Um so I don't know, we'll see where it leads us, but there's definitely going to be some big companies that are going to have to step up and say, "Hey, this is the future."
Funny that you mentioned. I was just about to ask you the PlayStation 5. Do you think it would have
Hey,
VR?
hell yeah. I mean, okay, I don't even want to talk about what the garbage that is PSVR. As somebody who's wanted to get into VR for a long time, I saw the PSVR and I almost threw up. Um, Even though I have a PS4, I honestly think Xbox made the right choice by what they. I think they started developing it and they were like, "Nah, it's not
Nah.
ready. It's not." And PlayStation was like, "Yeah, like let's just do it. Let's just drop this
Let's go
hot
for it.
garbage." It's There are very few games on the PSVR that are good. It's just the tracking I heard is absolutely horrible. I've tried it. I was gonna buy one. I was literally like, I got a paycheck, and I was just like, PSVR, and I was like, I can't do that. Like, I do not want my first foray into VR to be a bad experience, because then that's the whole thing. I honestly think that that's a big part of it. If people's first foray into something is a bad experience, it puts a sour taste in their mouth,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's gonna keep them away from it. They're gonna be like, oh, I tried that, it was horrible.
yeah. And
So
I'm not gonna wanna try it again.
exactly, and especially it's a case of you're not. It's not like you're shelling out $30, $20.
This is
You're
not
selling
Google
out
Cardboard.
for $500 minimum. So people are already expecting a good experience with that price point. But I don't know. I think we'll see where the future leads us. I definitely do think, again, VR is gonna be a thing, just not yet.
Uh, the PlayStation 5 though, like from all I've seen of it, it looks it looks interesting. I mean, uh, I think our next story would be the patterns for the controller. The controller looks largely the same. It's basically a DS4.
Yeah, it's very, very similar. They did remove the light bar at the back. I'll be honest, watching it side by side, the PlayStation, the new supposed PlayStation controller where they filed a patent, so we have some images there, not of the controller, but just basic sketches. Um, it looks very similar to the Stadia controller, to be quite honest. Um,
Well, hmm. Who's copying who here though? The PlayStation controllers look the
Oh
same.
no, so PlayStation, iconic, right? Like, but
Yeah,
the only reason I say like it looks very similar is just because I'm not even talking about the layout. I'm talking about uh the general.
the
If you
shape.
look at it, yeah, the general shape
Yeah, I can see.
because it doesn't have those ridge parts where the thumbsticks are anymore. It's just flat at the bottom there. You have a single jack at the bottom that's going to be facing you. I believe that's going to be the headphone jack. You know, that's where the headphone jack was on the DualShock 4. And it they've basically kind of, I don't know, it seems like they've slightly enlarged it just so it kind of fits in your hands a bit better. I'll be honest, ever since I started using my Xbox controller, I feel like the PS4 controller is too small, so I
Yeah,
could do with a little bit more chunk.
yeah. I
So I
think if they're basing it on anything, would be the Xbox controller. Like if
yeah,
I think the Stadia looks a lot like the Xbox controller.
I'm looking at them right now. I'd say I could see where you're coming from, but it's a severely simplified design.
Yeah,
The Xbox controller, just because of the triggers, and the grips are a bit thinner and they're not as rounded. They're kind of sharper than the PS4 and the Stadia, but and they also have like a very, I'd say like a very wide mid body. You know, that part that uh, is between the D pad and the buttons on the right. That part of it just seems so wide, but I don't know. I out of all the controllers that I've dealt with, the because I have the Switch Pro controller. That one is the most like the Xbox, in my opinion. Um, but Xbox first. I'm gonna if I'm gonna do a general ranking, I'm gonna put Xbox controller first. Uh, Switch controller second, actually, because it's very close to the Xbox. Um, Stadia third, PS4 last.
PS4
And
last. Oof.
that's just because I got big hands. I'm a big dude, but the PS4 controller is small for me, man. I have to try out at some point. I have to try out the new like there's a PS4 Pro controller or something like that, where you have like those paddles at the back and everything. And I know Xbox has always had their Elite controller. I want to see if I could try out the PS4 Pro controller because that is, I mean, it starts at like $200, so it's not cheap. I just want to hold it and see if it makes me feel any different.
Uh, I mean, if I were to rank controllers, I've always loved the GameCube controller, and I
Haha,
there's never been a controller since that has been as good to me.
interesting. I never had a GameCube. I only used to play at a friend's house, and I can't say I had much.
It
I was. It didn't matter to me, you know. It didn't stand out too much. It wasn't
it
bad.
it like just looking at it, you would think this looks fucking weird. Like look at it. Like it's shaped like the shape
it
is
does
weird.
not
It's
look
shaped
very
kind of
ergonomic.
like a boomerang, and the the buttons, like the X, Y, A, B buttons, are like
Yeah, you have
they
these like bean shapes for what was it, the X and the Y?
yeah, and then the A is large in the middle, and the B is like tiny to the side. But it works. It just fucking worked.
I definitely think I think they were onto something there though, because it was a case of just by hovering your finger over it, you could kind of get an idea of what controllers are what. And um like obviously you can do that with PlayStation, but it's not marked as like with all any of the controllers, but you have to look down at it initially to see what is what. Just by using your fingers, you can feel what is what, you know?
Yeah, the GameCube controller was lit. And then after that, I would have to say like you Xbox. Like after Xbox, probably. But I haven't used the Stadia controller, so I don't know. Nor have I used
Right.
the Switch controllers. So I would have to go with the DS4s. The DS3s were tiny.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm a big dude as well. I have big hands, and the DS4 is it's small, but I wouldn't say it's too small.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's playable, but it's weird after holding the Xbox controller for a while and I went to hold the PS4 controller. I was like, why are my hands so close together? Like, why do I feel like I'm holding a baby's controller?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I definitely had
so
that experience as well, coming from an Xbox to PlayStation controller, because I did have
yeah,
both.
but I mean, we'll see what comes out next year. I'm actually quite excited to see what I'm quite excited to see what Microsoft has in store for their next generation. I honestly think they are pretty nailed with their controller design. I don't think they're going to be switching up much, but next year for sure is going to be the year where Xbox brings VR to the Xbox, and we'll see. God,
Well,
that's a lot of stuff I gotta
let
buy.
let's see if they could do high refresh rate first, yo.
Oh,
That's all they need. Like for now, let's like not even 144. Let's try 120. Let's
baby
see if we can
steps.
get 120. Like, or
Oh
even a
man.
hundred. 100 isn't bad.
Yeah, I mean, 90 is. I honestly think smartphones, from next year going on, flagship smartphones are gonna be 90 hertz
Yeah, and
across the board.
it would be pretty dumb if you could get if most smartphones have 90 hertz refresh, and the Xbox is not capable of pushing 90 hertz. That would be sad.
That's gonna be. It's gonna.
So
I
they
mean,
they,
they're
they
gonna
pretty much have.
release a. Yeah, they have to. I mean, I think they've been planning for a while. This console development cycle has been going on for a while, so I definitely think that Microsoft is smart enough to future proof at this point. They're definitely, aiming for that Xbox to cover for the next 3, maybe 4 years.
Yeah,
Although I don't know. I mean, nah, I'm gonna say 3, maybe 4 years, before they release
maybe like
something
that.
like the One S or
Yeah,
anything.
something like that. And whatever they're gonna call it, I'm sure it's gonna be stupid. That's that's one. It's definitely not gonna be something as simple as the Xbox Two.
Yeah, I
Be
mean,
dumb.
it probably is. Just because it's funny though. It's really interesting how we touched on this last week. Sony's naming convention everywhere else in their company is horrible. With the PlayStation, they got it right. Microsoft's naming convention everywhere else is decent. With the Xbox, they're just messing up.
I mean, it's a decent though. They went from like Windows 95 to like XP, or like no, they went like 95 to 98 to XP.
I'm talking about it in recent years. If we're talking about then because we
Yeah,
had
but
Windows Vista, we have I don't even know how we got to 7.
yeah,
We just
we got
skipped 1 through 6.
and then 8, and then fucking 8.1, and then 10.
And then 10. Well, okay, here's my theory, right? We had 7. I don't know why they started with 7, but whatever. Then they went to 8. 8 was garbage, and they were like, okay. Actually, I heard that they were developing Windows 9, but then they scrapped it like immediately. Um, and then they were like 8.1, and 8 plus 1 is 9. 8.1, there we go. And then they were just like 10.
10.
Let's just 10.
Fuck it.
I mean,
10.
we're iPhone 10,
The iPhone 10 wasn't even a concept.
no, I know. But they were just like 10, whatever.
Yeah,
Let's just do it.
whatever.
Because Windows 10 came out a while ago. What, like
Yeah,
5 years ago now?
yeah, something like that. Yeah. And well, at least they said like Windows 10 is the last. It's always gonna be Windows 10. Well,
Yeah,
at least that's what they say.
that's what they say. I mean, we'll see how long that uh, CEO of Microsoft, what's is it Satya? We'll see if he's like if he decides to go on a tirade and it's like, nah, we're gonna 11.
All
Who
right,
knows? It might just be like 20.
could be. You know, they might switch it up and be like 13. Everyone will be confused and be like, "What?" I was like, "Yep, 13."
We did it. We did that. But I mean, there's a lot that the future holds for gaming, tech, and obviously all of the business that goes around it. I'm definitely excited for what's coming up. Next year is going to be an interesting year. It's going to be an expensive year. Got to get my bank account ready. But we'll see how it goes.
Yup, should be
So,
should be good.
yeah. And I think we'll wrap up episode 4 of Gaming TI here. We hope you enjoyed it. Um, the socials will be going up this week. So give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter. I'll put all of the links for everything down below. And you can also follow us on Twitch as well. We do stream each session live on Twitch. So all of the links will be down below. And yeah, that's it for episode 4 of Gaming TI. Thanks for listening.
Peace.